by and by.
Thank you, Lord.
We want to thank Minister Sowell for the reading of our scripture found in Hebrews, the 11th chapter. He read the first 3 verses, and they read thus. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. If you roll down to the 8th verse, it says, by faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should have received for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned into the land of promise, as in the strange country, dwelling in the tabernacles which Isaac and Jacob, their heirs with him of same promise. For he looked for a city which had foundations, whose builders and maker is God. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprung there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the skies in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is in heaven. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. We thank God for his blessed word, and we pray that he bless the hearts of them that heard it. If I was to use the subject today, it would be find us faithful. Lord, find us faithful. Find us faithful, Lord. We realize that even in these trying times that we live, we're going to be tried on every side. If we were to be honest, some of us are going through some stuff right now. But I realize that in the midst of everything that I go through, that God is still faithful. You got to look at your situation and look at your circumstance and find him faithful. But not only should we find him faithful, but in the midst of what we go through, he should also find us faithful. In other words, he should find us, as our Sunday school lesson taught us, he should find us persevering in the midst of affliction. He should find us persevering in the midst of trial and tribulation. Will he find you faithful today? The ancient Greeks had a race that added a new challenge to the unusual elements of speed and endurance. Each racer was to carry a lit torch as he began the race. And the runner's goal was not just to cross the finish line first, but equally important was the task of keeping his light burning while he was yet running. If the torch went out, he was disqualified. Well, in a very similar manner, faith invites us to run the same kind of race. Our goal is to keep the light of Christ burning in our lives throughout the race. For if our light goes out, we shall be disqualified. You see, in the wonderful Hall of Fame of faith described in Hebrews 11, Abraham and Sarah are examples of faith that keeps the light burning. Allow me, if you will, to examine 3 aspects of faith as it is demonstrated here. First of all, we find that faith looks to the future. Throughout this great chapter of faith, the emphasis is on the future. Faith looks to God's tomorrow. He said, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. King James say, now faith is the substance, the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence, the conviction of things not seen. Even when we do not know exactly what will come in the future, faith is always looking forward. When Abraham set out on his journey of faith in Genesis 12:1, he headed to a land that God would show him. There was no land in sight when he began his trip. He really didn't even know where he was going. But the act of faith led him and Sarah into the future. In an eager anticipation of God's future, we find in verse 10 that he looked forward to the city that has foundation, whose architect and builder is God. In fact, most of these great heroes of faith mentioned in Hebrews 11, they followed God out of obedience, but they did not always arrive in their destination. Church, we need to understand that faith is a pilgrimage that keeps us moving forward. That in the midst of whatever life presents to us, we can continue to move forward. Faith is an investment that we make now for a return that will come later. You'll get that later on. The idea goes against our culture emphasis on instant gratification. We want to live only in the now. But the word tells us to forget yesterday and don't worry about tomorrow, just enjoy today. After all, didn't Jesus tell us in Matthew 6:34 not to worry about tomorrow? For tomorrow will worry about its own things. And then he says, sufficient for the day is his own trouble. In other words, every day we're going to have some trouble. We ain't got to worry about what's going to come tomorrow because God already has tomorrow under control. We ain't got to worry about yesterday because we've already dealt with yesterday's situation. In our world of microwaves, e-meals, and cell phones, it just seems that it's hard to wait for a long time, much less for tomorrow. Some might even ask, why should we even bother? Well, I'll tell you, because that is what faith calls us to do. Faith is always looking to the future. Faith is always planting seeds that will grow into trees whose shades we will never sit under and enjoy. But they that come behind us will be able to sit under it and enjoy its cool shade. Which brings me to my second point. That being a faith that remembers the past. Hebrews 11 was written to help people remember the legacy that had been left from yesterday. Look at how many verses were given to a walk down the memory lane of faith. Now some might say, well, Pastor, that's kind of contradictory to what you just now said. You said forget yesterday and don't worry about tomorrow because today will have its own set of issues. But see, I might forget yesterday. But because of what happened yesterday, I'm faithful about getting through today. So I don't have to worry about tomorrow. Because I realize that God has brought me through some stuff. Not just yesterday, but the days that preceded yesterday. I have some memories. There's some stories that were told. These stories were told to remind people of what God had done in the past. You see, church, it's the memories of what God has already done that help us to believe in what God is going to do. Oh, I got a witness in here today.
Amen.
You see, God done brought us through some stuff. Some of us might have had a hard week. And some of us, week before last, was harder than this week.
Amen.
But God brought us through it.
Yeah.
So when we think about what we're dealing with, and we think about what we're going through, we know that the same God that brought us through yesterday is going to bring us through today.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that's good news.
Amen.
To know that I can hinge on the memories of what he's already done.
Yeah.
or when you look back over your life, think things over.
Yeah.
God has done so much.
Yes, he has.
Brought me through so much. Lift me up so much. Times when you couldn't seem to find your way, brought you out of nowhere. Some say find a way out of nowhere. Times when you could barely stand, I thank God for the pulpit that I could hold on to the pulpit. And it'll keep me stuck. Times when you can't even speak, your mouth is so dry, but God allow you to illuminate and explain His word.
Thank you, God. Thank you.
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Body so weak. But God give you strength to carry out His purpose.
Amen.
Do I got any witnesses in the house?
Amen.
Have anybody here been through some stuff and God has brought them out?
Yeah.
So I stopped by today to say the same God that brought you out, He's continuing to work a good work in you. And so you can make it through the day. But will He find us faithful?
Well.
You see, when I think about the heroes that are listed in Hebrews 11,
Yeah.
they also remind us that we are now enjoying the shade of trees that we did not plant.
Amen. Amen.
The faithfulness of earlier generations of our church has made a place for us to worship and to fellowship in.
Amen.
And so by remembering their faithfulness, we can be encouraged to be found faithful ourselves. What I'm saying is that the work that somebody else did, we're now benefiting from.
Amen.
And the work that we do, somebody else is going to do. There's some things that we might not never get to see.
Amen.
But we laid a foundation on top of the foundation that was already prepared for you and me.
Yeah.
You think about all our lives, our parents. Our parents sacrificed some stuff
Yeah.
so that we can benefit from their sacrifice. And then as we became parents, we sacrificed some stuff so that our children can benefit from our sacrifice.
Yeah.
In other words, each generation it gets a little bit easier. Some will say it get harder, but it really gets a little easier because, see, they are able to do more than we were able to do. We are able to do more than what our parents were able to do.
Amen.
And it should continue on and on and on. And so what we're doing, we're planting seeds. We're sowing seeds that somebody else will benefit.
Amen.
What I'm saying is that faith always look back to see what God has done in our lives. But sometimes we cannot know that in the present time. Sometimes the struggles of the day are so great that we can't clearly see God at work in our lives. We can only imagine it in the future. The possibilities for tomorrow are only hopes that have not yet matured into reality. Faith is built on sacred memory.
Yeah.
And so I realize that sometimes we get so bound up. We talk about a press way. But sometimes we get so bound up and the pain is so great that we start focusing on the pain and we forget to focus on God. I shared earlier in the Sunday school lesson how I dealt with my conversation with God this week. How I look back and I realized that in the midst of my pain, in the midst of my suffering, in the midst of my sickness, I wasn't spending as much time with God as I normally spent with Him. That I had to talk to God and ask God to forgive me for my shortcomings. Forgive me, God, for not talking to you in my hour of need. Forgive me, God.
Yeah.
For not being mindful that I still had you. Or when I was turning and trying to find that comfort spot. Forgive me, God, for not finding comfort in you.
Yeah.
Lord, I need you to find me faithful. That's how I got to this ministry so well.
Amen.
Lord, I need you to find. Anybody know what I'm talking about? See, we got to look at ourselves. Realize that, Lord, I want to give all myself to you.
Yes, Lord.
And so maybe that's why Abraham was able to set out, not knowing where he was going. Because he was used to giving God all of it. He and Sarah remembered what God had done for them in the past. It is that which allowed them to obey when the call came to move into an unknown future. They considered him faithful who had promised.
Oh, yeah.
And why? It was because their memory told them what God had already done in their lives. We got to remember the movement of God in the past, and that should give us strength for the present and hope for the future. Why? Well, the answer is simple as I come to my final point, as I prepare to come to a close. And that is that faith, it supports the present. And so, not only does faith support our future, not only does it support our past, but it supports the present. The word for assurance in the first verse is literally things put under. In other words, it is a word for a foundation that supports a structure. Faith is not just looking to the future or remembering the past. It is also what supports us in the present. Because of what we will believe that God will do in the future, our conviction of things not seen, and because of what we remember that God has done in the past, we support our lives on the reality of God who is with us right here in the present. In other words, because of what he already did for me, and what I'm looking for him to do, I can stand strong right now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Because of what he already did, and what I'm looking for him to do, I can have a peace of mind. Because of what he's already done, and what I'm looking for him to do, I could stand boldly, knowing that this too, oh, I got a witness in the house. This too shall pass. Yes, the foundation of God, it gives us power for living today. Well, I ask you this. Can any story be more of an example than the account of Abraham and Sarah? By faith, he received the power of procreation, even though he was too old and Sarah herself was barren. Yes, faith is knowing that only God and God alone can give power to do the impossible. Because with God, nothing is impossible. And that same power of God is available to us for the challenges that we face today. But I ask you to ask yourself this question. Are you building your life on that kind of foundation? A foundation that is built on faith. For it is the only way to run the race without your light going out. Is your light shining bright as you run this race with perseverance? Are you staying the course? When everything is said and done, will God find you faithful? Well, when I consider what he has already done for me, my soul shouts hallelujah as I run this race to eternity. Yes, when my lights start flickering, I hear the voice of them that ran before me. I hear the songwriter sing, have faith in God when your path is lonely. He sees and knows all the way you have tried. Never alone are the least of his children. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. He's on the throne. Have faith in God. He watched over his own. He cannot fail. He must prevail. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. Have faith in God when your prayers are unanswered. Have faith in God when you earnest prayer, for he will never forget. Wait on the Lord and trust his word and be patient. Have faith in God. He will answer yet. Have faith in God. He's on the throne. Have faith in God. He watches over his own. Have faith in God. He cannot fail. Have faith in God because he will provide. Have faith in God in your pain and your sorrow. His heart is touched with your grief and despair. Cast all your cares and all your burdens upon him and leave them. Oh, leave them right there. Have faith in God. He's on the throne. Have faith in God. He watches over his own. He cannot fail. He will prevail. Have faith in God. Through all else fail. Have faith in God. He provides for his own. He cannot fail though kingdom perish. He rules, he reigns upon his throne. Have faith in God. He's on the throne. Have faith in God. He watches over his own. Yes, when you have faith in God and never forget him. In the end, he will find you faithful. Yes, in that day when he shall appear, I can say, yes, he faithful. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which is the Lord, the righteous judge, who shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. All we got to do is have faith. Will he find us faithful? Even now, he's speaking to our hearts. And he said, trust me. Lean not unto your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge me, and I will direct your path.
Thank you, Lord.
He said, are you going through? Cast all your cares upon me, for I care for you. Will he find us faithful?
Thank you,
Come
Lord.
on now.
He said, they that wait upon the Lord